Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're jumping into a really fascinating strategic report on GigaDevice, a specialized memory chip maker, to figure out its unique game plan for surviving in a market that is, well, notoriously volatile.
Okay, let's get right into it. Before we can even talk about the company itself, we've got to wrap our heads around this key concept the report uses to frame everything. So what in the world is a hidden champion?
Think of them like this. They're the quiet giants of an industry. They're super focused, really innovative, and absolutely world-class in their one specific thing, all while flying completely under the radar of the mainstream.
And yep, you guessed it, GigaDevice fits this description to a T. And getting this idea is absolutely central to understanding their strategy, their big wins, and, the fundamental problems they're facing right now.
So, to really get a feel for GigaDevice's playbook, we first have to look at the dramatic, boom and bust world they live in, and that is the world of memory chips.
And when I say dramatic, I mean it. This industry has been on an absolute roller coaster. You had prices peaking way up here in 2021, then a catastrophic crash down to the bottom in 2023, and now they're surging back up in what's looking like a really powerful recovery.
But here's the thing. This isn't just your normal, everyday market cycle. What's so different this time is that the giants, your Samsungs, your SK Hynixes, they've strategically decided to cut back on producing the lower-end stuff. Why? Because they're chasing the massive profits in high-end AI memory. And that move has created this rare vacuum, this window of opportunity for the players left behind in those niche markets.
So, you gotta ask, right, how does a smaller company like GigaDevice even survive, let alone thrive, in an industry that's completely dominated by these titans? Well, it turns out they're playing a totally different game.
The key to it all is their strategy, which the report puts perfectly. They deliberately, consciously avoid getting into bloody fights with the giants in these massive red oceans, like mainstream memory.
And instead, they go out and they cultivate their own blue oceans. You can see it so clearly here. Their core market, NOR Flash, is just a tiny $3 billion pond swimming next to these $100 billion oceans. It's a completely different scale. But this is where their strategy is just so brilliant. See, inside that small pond, GigaDevice is a very big fish. Along with just two other competitors, they formed this little three-company club that controls over 90% of the entire global market. They don't fight the giants, they just own their niche.
But look, being the master of a niche isn't enough. It doesn't make you immune to those brutal industry cycles we talked about. And this is where the report really zeroes in on GigaDevice's next big bet, what they call a second curve for future growth.
They are trying to make a huge pivot here. They're trying to move away from the low-margin crank-em-out business of standard chips and into this much more lucrative, high-margin world of customized storage solutions. We're talking about stuff made specifically for AI smartphones and advanced cars.
But, and this is a big but, this is a high-stakes gamble. The report is crystal clear that the biggest challenge here isn't the technology. It's about trying to break into the exclusive club, the top-tier customer relationships that companies like Samsung have spent decades building. That's the real barrier.
So, with all of that as our backdrop, let's look at the financials. Let's see what the numbers say and what the analysts' final take on GigaDevice's future really is. So, in 2024, the headlines were screaming that GigaDevice's net profit had surged by an incredible 584%. An amazing number, right? But what does it actually mean?
Well, this chart tells the real story. That massive percentage growth? It's only because 2023 was an absolutely catastrophic year for the whole industry. Their 2024 profit, sure, it's a great recovery, but it's still less than half of what they were making back at their peak in 2021.
So the crucial point here is that this just hammers home the brutal nature of this business. Yeah, these massive swings from a profitable peak down to a devastating trough, and then, hopefully, back up again. It's all about the cycle.
And if we look ahead, the analyst's model in this report predicts that this current upcycle is going to peak pretty soon. You can see it right here. Profit growth is expected to slow to a crawl, just 3% in 2026, and then, bam, it's expected to go negative by 2027 as that cycle inevitably turns once again.
And that really brings us right to the report's powerful conclusion. The ultimate challenge for this hidden champion, it's not about making better chips. It's about finding a way to finally break free from this relentless, punishing cycle. Can they truly transform themselves from just a product supplier into a real solutions partner? That, right there, is the billion-dollar question.